need to be the center of attention, even if it is attention fueled by hatred, is part of his warped personality that developed early in his life.
Richard David Falco is born in Brooklyn, New York in the summer of 1953. He is immediately put up for adoption and taken in by Nathan and Pearl Berkowitz. Young David finds it difficult to shake the feeling of being abandoned by his birth mother. He begins to cry out for recognition with aggression. He becomes jealous of his adoptive mother's affection for a pet parakeet. He poisons the bird with cleaning fluid, believing he has a right to her undivided attention.
Children often behave outrageously when they seek attention, but Berkowitz's actions show a wanton disregard for life. The taking of a life is, after all, a formidable line to cross.
In his teens, Berkowitz's adoptive mother, Pearl, dies of cancer. David is devastated. His feelings of rejection deepen, and his resentment grows. He descends into isolation. Berkowitz casts about looking for fulfillment. He joins the volunteer police department, community college, the army. Still, he feels isolated and unwanted. Berkowitz's adoptive father moves to Florida, and David rents a room in the Bronx. Far from family, with few friends, he begins to set fires in rubbish heaps, abandoned cars, empty buildings. Over 3 years, he claims to set 1,411 fires and keeps painstaking notes of every incident.
Setting fires gives Berkowitz a sense of power and identity that he never experienced before. For him, this must have been an intoxicating experience.
On Mother's Day, 1975, Berkowitz finds his birth mother and discovers that she has a daughter. He is overwhelmed that she kept another child, but gave him up. His profound loneliness makes him desperate for the love, acceptance, and attention he believes he deserves. No longer satisfied with setting fires, his crimes escalate. July 29th, 1976, Berkowitz shoots 2 women as they sit in their car. One of them dies. It is his first murder. The story makes the front page of the paper. He adores the headlines.
Reading about his crimes in the paper would have been a fulfilling moment for Berkowitz. Such recognition for a man who felt unnoticeable and rejected by the world seems to have encouraged him to commit more crimes.
Because of the handgun he uses, the police dub him the .44 caliber killer.
Good evening. In New York early this morning, the .44 caliber killer tried to kill again.
Berkowitz continues his attacks in New York. The city is in a panic.
People wouldn't come out at night. They're really scared. And I mean, when they're scared, that's all they do is talk about the killer.
April 17th, 1977. Berkowitz attacks again. 2 people are shot in the head and killed.
The girl was covered in blood. It was a horror. This guy screaming, just screaming and screaming.
At the crime scene, police find a letter. In it, Berkowitz calls himself the son of Sam and threatens to kill again.
By leaving this letter at the crime scene, Berkowitz is drawing still more attention to his crimes. No longer content for the murders to simply be mentioned in the paper, he creates the identity of Son of Sam, by which the whole world will soon know him.
A month later, Berkowitz pens a letter to crime reporter Jimmy Breslin of the Daily News. Sam won't let me stop killing until he gets his fill of blood. You will see my handiwork at the next job. When they publish the letter, the Daily News breaks sales records. The Son of Sam is a media sensation. But police still have no leads.
The attention received through his correspondence with the press gave Berkowitz something he had never achieved on his own, a sense of accomplishment and the respect of others.
Finally, after 19 months and 6 deaths, a break in the case. Police approach Berkowitz for a traffic violation. They demand to know who he is. He smiles maniacally and says, "I'm him. I'm the son of Sam. What took you so long?" Following his arrest, Berkowitz claims that Sam is a demon in his neighbor's dog who ordered him to kill. David Berkowitz eventually pleads guilty and is sentenced to 315 years in jail. He later admits the demon dog story is a hoax. One final grab for attention.
Berkowitz wasn't satisfied just to kill. He needed the attention of the media. And just any headline wasn't enough. He created an evil persona designed to make him a legend. The grandiose quality of his actions, the reveling in a feeling of superiority vis-a-vis the authorities, push him even higher on my scale than a multiple murderer. I place him at level 17, a level reserved for manipulative killers who punish and torment society at large.
David Berkowitz seemingly acted without fear. Instead of covering up his crimes, he reached out to both police and the media. What can science tell us about the role fearlessness plays in attention-seeking killers? Keith Jesperson, the happy-face killer. Convicted of 4 murders, he is serving 4 life sentences. But this attention seeker claims credit for as many as 166 victims. What motivates Jesperson to kill? And what compels him to take credit for other murders? To understand the mind of Keith Jesperson, Dr. Stone must examine his life and his crimes. January 1990, Portland, Oregon. Jesperson's first murder. He meets Tanya Bennett in a local bar and convinces her to come home with him. He rapes and strangles her, then calmly disposes of the evidence. No one questions Jesperson. He is not a suspect. He is proud to have gotten away with murder. But 2 months later, pride turns to envy when the names of Laverne Pavlinac and John Sosnowski are splashed across the headlines. They are eventually convicted of the murder of Tanya Bennett. Not content to remain in the shadows, Jesperson pens detailed confessions on bathroom walls in Oregon and Montana. But it goes unnoticed. Over the next 5 years, Jesperson roams the highways, killing at least 5 more women, and demanding acknowledgement for his crimes through letters to police and the media. He creates an infamous persona, the happy-face killer.
Jesperson's letters to the media are calling cards motivated by ego and reflect extreme narcissism. Public recognitions of his acts is, ironically, more important than remaining free. This need for attention probably developed early in his life.
1955. Born in rural British Columbia, Jesperson's family soon relocates to Washington State. As a child, he is teased and bullied by other children. He claims to have been neglected and abused by his father, a charge his father disputes. Hungry for approval, he begins killing the stray animals that his father finds a nuisance. Jesperson's first victim is a cat, which he strangles with his bare hands.
Animal torture becomes a desperate attempt to prove his dominance. Through taking a life, Jesperson would have learned a sense of power and control that would later escalate to murder. And murder, he learned, was a way to win recognition.
The 1990s. Working as a long-haul trucker in the Pacific Northwest, Jesperson begins targeting prostitutes and women in bars. Not satisfied to simply strangle his victims, it is said that he begins playing a death game, choking them to the brink of death, then reviving them to intensify their fear, repeating that process again and again. He ends their life when he eventually grows tired.
Taking of a human life was nothing. I had done it so many times, it was nothing. It's like walking your dog. Once you do it around the block, you could walk your dog blindfolded.
1994. Restless, Jesperson creates a new game of dominance and control. He writes a letter to an Oregon State courthouse claiming he killed Tanya Bennett 4 years earlier. He reveals details only the killer would know. When his letter goes unnoticed, he writes directly to the Oregonian newspaper demanding to be heard. The letter is signed with a happy face. March 10th, 1995. For the first time, Jesperson claims the life of someone he knows. Police question him, and although he remains a prime suspect, he is released. Jesperson's obsessive need for attention overwhelms his desire to remain free. In a letter to his brother, he confesses his crimes. Within days, he is arrested. Once in custody, Jesperson reveals himself to be the happy-face killer. In 1998, he pleads guilty to the murders of 4 women, including Tanya Bennett.
Guilty, Your Honor.
Laverne Pavlinac and John Sosnowski are cleared of all charges.
It was fun. It's humorous at times to see the craziness, not of what I've caused, but of the justice system.
Jesperson is sentenced to life in prison.
It may never be possible to know how many victims Keith Jesperson truly killed. In placing him in my scale, I must consider the damage he does by simply claiming crimes. Keith Jesperson is a cold-blooded psychopathic schemer driven by a powerful need for attention. And unfortunately, in a way, by profiling him here, we are playing into his perverse craving for acknowledgement. For his crimes and numerous claims of others, I place him at a level 18 on my scale, a level reserved for psychopaths preoccupied with murder and who also commit torture to a relatively brief degree.
Attention-seeking killers create fear through their crimes and through their games with the media. By forcing their names onto the front page, they make the public live with terror, day in and day out. Dr. Stone investigates their callous treatment of their victims and their manipulation of the public's emotions as he strives to understand and quantify what makes a killer most evil.